You think Sadako crawling out of a television is terrifying, but the true story she was stolen from is far more necrotic. Long before the movies, there was the well of Himeji Castle, and a ritual so dark it codified death into a spiritual plague. We are exhuming the ancient, blood-stained roots of Japan's most famous curse. In 2002, the ring terrified millions with its image of a long-haired girl emerging from a TV screen, eyes hidden, mouth open in silent scream. But that ghost wasn't born in a studio. She was stolen from a 17th century well in western Japan, where a real woman's voice still echoes in the dark. Himeji Castle, Japan's white heron, is famed for its beauty, but beneath its pristine walls lies a stone well, cold even in summer. Locals avoid it after dusk. Tourists whisper as they pass, because this is where Okiku died, not in fiction, but in history. And her death wasn't just murder. It was the spark that ignited a centuries-old belief in contagious vengeance. The global phenomenon of the ring began not with a cursed videotape, but with a real tragedy. A servant girl, falsely accused, brutally silenced, and thrown into darkness. Her spirit didn't haunt for thrills. She haunted for justice. And in Japanese tradition, unresolved injustice doesn't fade. It festers. It spreads. It becomes law. Hollywood gave us static and jump scares, but the real horror is quieter. The sound of counting in the dead of night, the knowledge that some wounds never close, and the chilling truth that vengeance, once ritualized, becomes immortal. Because Sadako is fiction, Okiku is memory, and memory in Japan never dies. Next, the 10 plates, the false accusation, and the well that still counts today.
In the late 1600s, a servant named Okiku worked in Himeji Castle under Lord Aoyama. Her duty: guard 10 precious heirloom plates. One day 9 were found. The 10th was missing. Okiku searched frantically, but the plate was gone. Or so it seemed. In truth, the Lord's wife had hidden it, framing Okiku to punish her for rejecting the Lord's advances. When Okiku confessed she couldn't find it, the Lord flew into a rage. "You've shamed my house," he hissed. Then he threw her down the castle well. But death wasn't the end. That night, villagers heard it, a woman's voice, counting from the depths. 1, 2, 3, up to 9. Then a scream. Every night, for weeks, for years. This wasn't ghostly theatrics. It was spiritual demand. In Japanese belief, the soul cannot rest until its wrong is righted. Okiku's spirit, now an Onryo vengeful ghost, was trapped in a loop of injustice. She counted the plates to prove her innocence. The scream? The moment she remembered she'd never reached 10. The well became taboo. Servants refused to draw water from it. Even today, visitors report sudden chills, whispers, and the faint sound of counting when standing near its rim. Archaeologists have found human bones in similar castle wells across Japan, evidence that Okiku's fate was tragically common. But Okiku's story evolved beyond one woman's pain. It became a template: the innocent wronged, the silence enforced, the spirit that refuses to vanish. And from this template arose a terrifying idea. Grief, if pure enough, can become a weapon. Because in Japan, a ghost isn't just a memory, it's a verdict. And Onryo don't haunt houses, they haunt bloodlines. Next, the ritual that turned personal rage into a codified curse, and how it mirrors the ring's rules.
Long before videotapes, there was Ushi-no-Toki-Mairi, the hour of the ox ritual, performed between 1-3 a.m., when the veil between worlds thins. This wasn't superstition. It was spiritual warfare, with strict rules, sacred tools, and irreversible consequences. The practitioner, a wronged woman, usually, would dress in white funeral robes, invert her hair, and nail a straw doll waraji to a sacred tree. At a Shinto shrine, each nail represented a wish for death. She'd chant the victim's name, spit on the doll, and leave it to rot. But the ritual demanded more. She had to become monstrous. To curse effectively, she had to shed her humanity, to let rage purify her into a vessel of divine retribution. Failure meant damnation. Success meant the target would sicken, waste, and die within days. Historical records from Edo period Japan document cases where entire families fell ill after such rituals. Doctors baffled, priests called in. Now compare this to The Ring. Watch the tape, you're mocked. Copy it, you survive. Fail to act, you die in 7 days. These aren't random rules. They mirror Shugendō, spiritual law. Contamination spreads, but can be transferred. The videotape is the modern straw doll. The phone call is the chant. The 7 days? The time it takes for spiritual rot to consume the soul. Hollywood made it viral, but the original curse was intimate, intentional, and irreversible. You didn't stumble into it. You were chosen. And once marked, there was no escape, only delay. Because the real terror of Ushi-no-Toki-Mairi wasn't the death. It was the knowledge that someone wanted you gone badly enough to become a demon. Next, the mountain mystics who believed rage could poison the land itself. In the 9th century, Shugendō ascetics, mountain-dwelling mystics, developed a radical belief. Unpurified emotions could physically corrupt reality. Grief, rage, betrayal, if left unresolved, didn't just haunt individuals. They seeped into soil, water, and bloodlines, creating what they called kegare, spiritual pollution. A single Onryo could taint a village. A mass death, like a battlefield or plague, could curse a region for generations. This wasn't metaphor. Shugendō texts describe spiritual plagues that cause crops to fail, children to sicken, and men to go mad. The solution? Purification rituals, fire, water, chanting to cleanse the land. This worldview shaped Japan's relationship with death. Graves face away from homes. Wells are sealed after tragedy. Certain forests are never entered, because in this tradition, evil isn't external, it's residual. Like radiation, it lingers where trauma occurred, and that's why the well matters. It's not just a hole in the ground, it's a conduit, a place where Okiku's rage pooled, concentrated, and became infectious. Her spirit didn't just haunt Himeji. It became part of the land's spiritual DNA. In 2026, this fear has adapted. We no longer fear wells, we fear data. A cursed video spreads like a virus. A social media post can haunt you forever. The digital age didn't kill the Onryo. It gave her bandwidth. Because whether it's a straw doll or a smartphone, the message is the same. Some wounds don't heal, they replicate. Next, why the well still terrifies, and why Sadako is just the surface.
In 2026, the well remains one of humanity's most potent symbols. It represents the subconscious, dark, deep, and full of what we've buried. It's where secrets drowned, where voices are silenced, where the past waits, patient, for someone to listen. Sadako, with her TV static and wet hair, is a sanitized echo of Okiku. Hollywood needed a monster. Japan has a martyr. At Himeji Castle, offerings of flowers and incense are still left at the well, not to ward off evil, but to honor the truth. Locals don't tell Okiku's story to scare children. They tell it to remember. Injustice echoes. The real horror of The Ring isn't the crawl from the scream. It's the realization that some curses are earned, that every victim was once wronged, that vengeance, when systematized, becomes inevitable. And that's why these spirits endure. Not because they're supernatural, but because they're necessary. In a world with a powerful, often escaped consequence, the Onryo is the ultimate equalizer. A woman who, even in death, demands to be heard. So the next time you see a well in a film, don't think of monsters. Think of Okiku. Think of the 10 plates. Think of the voice that still counts in the dark. Because the scariest thing about the well isn't what's inside. It's what we threw in and hoped no one would hear. Sadako is fiction. Okiku is fact. The well doesn't hold water. It holds memory. Hollywood gave you a monster. Japan gave you a warning. Like if you've ever heard counting in the silence. Subscribe for more truths behind the terror. Share with someone who knows. Some wells should never be emptied.